Hey, this is the Christian Reviewer here bringing you my very first review. Everyone has a movie, a song, or a TV show that they feel like is a story of their life. And for me, if I had to choose a movie, that would be Amelie. Amelie is known everywhere as a French classic. It came out in 2001 and was nominated for 5 Academy Awards. Which is pretty cool if you ask me, although sad it didn't win anything. There are many reasons I love this movie. I love its artsiness, I love its French charm, I love the good message that it gives its audience, but most of all, I love the movie because, in many ways, the life of the main character reflects my own. To offer a better explanation of this, let me explain the plot. The main character's name is Amelie. When we first see her, she is just a little girl like any other. However, she has a father who is cold and a mother who is more than a bit neurotic. And so, she gets hardly any love at home. And because her parents mistakenly believe her to have a heart condition, she is declared unfit for school. And so she is taught at home and never has any contact with any kids her age. And when she gets lonely, she runs to her imagination. And then when her mom is killed by a suicidal tourist, leaving her alone with her cold father, Amelie retreats into this world even further. She eventually moves away to Paris and gets a job working at a waitress in a cafe called Les Deux Moulins. However, Amelie is still isolated in her dream world, and instead of forming relationships with people, she cultivates a taste for small pleasures like skipping stones or asking silly questions about the world around her. Then one day in her apartment, she stumbles across a box of childhood treasures from the previous tenant of her apartment, back in the 50s. Amelie then decides to find this boy, and if he was touched by her actions, she would become a regular do-gooder. She succeeds and becomes the regular do-gooder she wanted to be, or she thought about being. The good deeds that she does lead her to become more and more out of her shell. She even finds a friend in an old man called Raymond Dufoyel. He is a great artist, but his bones are brittle and he can't leave his apartment, but he is a great mentor towards her. Now, the way that Amelie does good deeds is in such a way that no one knows that she's really doing them. Dufoyel indirectly at first pushes her more and more out of her shell. To get out of her shell, focus on fixing her own life, and take risks to get to know people. And as the movie goes on, his advice haunts her more and more, especially as she falls in love with a guy named Nino, who collects discarded photos from a photo booth and puts them in a scrapbook. When he loses his scrapbook, Amelie leads him on a wild goose chase to get it back, and then on a wild goose chase to find out more about her because she's too shy to talk to him in person. And then when he finally does find her apartment eventually, she is hesitant to let him in, but after watching a final encouraging video from Raymond to go get him before her heart grows cold, Amelie finally lets Nino in. They proceed to make love and become boyfriend and girlfriend and live happily ever after. Now, except for a few minor details like the getting laid and finding a boyfriend part, the story represents very much so the emotional struggles I have gone through in my life. My dad has always been sort of withdrawn emotionally. My mother used to be a lot angrier and more anxious when I was young, and so I couldn't get close to them very easily. I wasn't an only child, but my older sister was mean to me. And my little sister was a baby, so I couldn't really relate to her. But I have friends in Atlanta, but when I came to Augusta when I was 9, I didn't have friends, and since my family wasn't easy to bond with, I retreated into my own imagination, like Amelie did. I went to school, but it was hard for me to make friends there, so I lived in my imagination for a while. Until high school, actually. When high school started, a change took place in me. I felt the call of God to love others and be loved in return. So that's what I did. I got out of my shell more. I befriended people who didn't have friends. I made friends with some really great people, and I learned how to be a friend in return. I sometimes learn the hard way, like I got into fights with people, but I survived and I've been able to get out of my shell as a result. And so in a lot of ways this movie signifies a lot of the struggles I've been through, as far as that goes. I also love the movie for its artsiness and French charm. The French are known for their artsiness, but Jean-Pierre Jeunet takes the artsy, quirky edge to another level. And all his films are known for that. I love the visuals and the music of Jan Tiersen, who I would go so far as to call the Chopin of France. He's been quoted as being called that, actually, with his style and his great music. I love Audrey Tautou, who plays the main character, and she pulls off a shy person, which I know for a fact is not an easy thing to do. I love the way they make Paris look in the movie. I love the style. I actually wish it looked more like that in real life. And I also love France. It's no secret that I'm a bit of a Francophile. Been there twice. I love the culture. I love the laid-back personality of the people there. I love the language. I like the food. Pretty much I love everything there is to love about France, and I eat up everything I can from it. And finally, I love it because of the message. The film says that in life no one should withdraw because they're too timid and shy. They need to be active and involved because everyone has something to offer the world. And I think that's the best message this film has to offer. Another great message of the movie is that everyone is valuable. In fact, when the film ever introduces a new character, they mention all the small pleasures they have to make them uniquely them. You see a large crowd of people, but sometimes other people forget that each person has a soul, a life of their own, and some things they enjoy and some things they don't. I think this movie is a good reminder of that. It ties into God's message that everyone has a purpose. I think it's a great movie with a great message, but however it does have its problems. First of all, it has an R rating for a very good reason. It has a lot of sexual content, and you see naked people you see people having sex, and so forth, and I've already mentioned the getting laid part at the end. And Amelie doesn't always do ethical things, in my opinion. She gets revenge on a guy who mistreats someone else. She creates a fake letter to a woman so that she thinks her husband loved her when he died. She sleeps with a guy she has never even had a face-to-face conversation with. And I could go on for hours, and I'm not saying any of these things are okay. They're all wrong. The overall message of the film, I think, is so wonderful that I would say that this film is overall a great influence for Christians. To get out of their shell and help the world and not just spend your time worrying about what's comfortable for them. If Amelie were a friend, I would tell her to stop her sexual habits and think about whether or not the things she are doing are good. But besides that, I think she is doing a good job. Thank you, everyone, and good night. This is a Christian Reviewer signing out.